Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, Spring into Football. Today we have the original crew. Um, we have, I'm pleased to announce we have the original crew actually because it's been a while since we have had it. Everybody present here, Diego and AJ, the more frequent visitors. Now I can say that. Raf, um, thanks for joining us again, like
Hey
old
guys,
times. We
what's
uh
up?
we missed you for sure.
Yeah, I
It was
missed it.
definitely difficult trying to piece together different people into our show here just because obviously trying to find somebody new every week and features and all that. Not taking anything away from them. They're great, but just like kind of how you went out. It was a little unexpected, like mid-season type thing. But no, it's all good. We understand, man. So thanks for coming back, Diego and AJ. Thank you guys for joining as well. So we're gonna go ahead. So another week of football has passed. This week we just saw week 6. I mean, like I said, I think we saw a lot of great football. I think from like a consumer standpoint or a spectator standpoint, I think another great week. Like not really much to complain about. I think the offense looked real good, kind of like how it did in week 5, which was kind of the start of that. I think the defense had also some really good moments for some teams, this past week as well, and obviously the ratings increased in a lot of facets. And then I also know that there's been some pivotal moves here for some of these teams that will definitely impact kind of their trajectory and maybe a little bit unexpected. I mean, especially at this juncture of the season, just something you didn't really see envision happening. I'm kind of surprised like that they are like trading and releasing this late. I don't know. I don't think there's a trade deadline in the UFL. Raf or one of you guys can know.
No trade, no,
No,
no trade deadline.
yeah, no. So I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you can do that whenever, and I mean, obviously the trades that I think we saw just one this past week on the transaction wire. It wasn't for two teams that are looking to make a push, but definitely still something to note, and we'll definitely get into that later in the show. But to start off, um, we're just going to go ahead and into our overall thoughts. I mean, just kind of like how we do every week. Like I said, I mean, I thought it was a great week of football. I thought we saw a lot of great individual play. We saw, some surprises. Raf, your visual effects
Oh
background
yeah,
will. I think we can start with that. So,
he
what are your?
sucks.
Yeah,
Kevin
okay.
Hogan's terrible.
You think he's terrible? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
you know what? I think, if we do start there, we can all talk about that because I know Stallions versus Brahmas. I know that I think Hogan looked better than Mond. You can, no?
26-3. What can he do, bro? What
What?
what, what could Mon do? What
Well,
could
I
Mon
think.
do if
Uh,
Hogan did exactly like not even the same? He played worse.
well, do you think it was that Birmingham was just too dominant? Like, did that ever
No,
cross? No.
not. I'm not gonna lie. I stopped watching after the first half, so I
Okay,
would not.
okay, okay, okay. Well,
I would.
no. Well, I could say that Birmingham definitely looked good. You guys could add on to that if you feel the same way, but
Mm.
I mean, I definitely think they look good. Obviously now with kind of a quarterback change that they might have to make again because of injury. Diego, I don't know if you might be able to provide us an update on who was it? Peasley that went down.
Easily.
As far as I know, both Case Cookis and Andrew Peasley did. Uh, they were banged up after the game, and as far as I know, there hasn't been any injury reports. So it's kind of hard to say what their status is going to be. There
Mm.
is a speculation that Jamar might have to step in on Sunday, but it's kind of hard to say right now with the lack of coverage.
hmm I will
Yeah,
actually. I
yeah.
will
Go
say
ahead.
this.
Yeah.
The way Houston's been moving these past 3 weeks, since Sir Jalen McClendon has been tossed into the starting. I think that this Stallions team, if Magoo doesn't get healthy, if Corral doesn't get healthy, and if they keep having to rotate between Peasley and Cookis, I don't think that they can compete with Houston and Michigan, to be honest. I think that that might come in effect next week, because we most likely will see Jamar Smith play because Peasley looks banged up. Cookus is banged up, so I don't. I don't see it. I really don't see it unless Jamar plays at the rate that we all saw him play 2 years ago.
No, I mean, listen, Houston has looked good. Michigan has also looked good. Michigan, I'm not firm on whether or not I think they're the best team right now. I need to see another week just because of, they've had, if Mike Nolan had Bryce Perkins out there, who knows where they would be right now? They'd be the
38
best team.
points.
They'd be the best team. Like, not even arguably. Like, we would all account to that. And just because they kind of set themselves back by having that two quarterback system in place. Now Bryce Perkins being the man in town, moving forward, that team just looks so much better. I
And
mean,
not even that, Toa Tua and Nate McCrary are both running the ball at a better rate as well with Bryce Perkins at the start,
yeah, yeah.
100%. So
And the receivers, we know Marcus Sims was traded, and like it just hasn't been a problem. Like, obviously, like I remember Raf. I mean, you weren't on the episode when we talked about it, but the week after Marcus Sims was traded, like we did have some concerns, regarding that room. Like, how are they going to shape up? And now, like, you don't even think about it because Bryce Perkins just like does so much for that offense, and they're
yeah,
such like a run heavy offense now that like
mhm,
the pass game is just a wrinkle. It's not,
yeah,
nothing
and
more.
not even that. Cole Hikatini's looked like a great option.
Yeah,
Malik Turner's looked like an incredible option. Like he could be wide receiver one in the receiving room, no doubt about that in my mind.
yeah, no, I totally agree. AJ, what do you think about the Panthers and kind of what they've been able to do with not that much? Like the roster doesn't look like you wouldn't think it looks that good. If they came into the season with this, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the only thing that concerned me about Michigan is Bryce Perkins if they have to rely on him too much.
Yeah, yeah,
Just because, like, okay, it's good now, but what happens when you get to the postseason? We saw last year he got hurt because of the amount of times he had to carry the ball. And so I think they're doing better because their running backs are playing better. So he doesn't have to run the ball every time. But you just hope that they can continue to do this, and you don't want get to the postseason and now he's been banged up all year, and then he end up having to be out once they get to the playoffs if they
Yeah.
do. So, but I mean, I feel like Michigan's playing great. In my opinion, Bryce Perkins is the MVP, top MVP candidate, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And I mean, it was great to watch the game, the way that they played against DC, who had been playing great the whole season. So it was a great week. In general, I think with San Antonio, I don't even think Hogan played that bad. I think I seen the receiver drop the wide open touchdown pass. I
yeah,
mean, it was
yeah.
nobody near him, and so I don't feel like his receivers helping him either. I mean, he threw for how much he threw for? He threw for 179. I mean, that's not the biggest numbers, but I
Hmm.
feel like I think like that last 20 seconds of that half was great. And I think if he can play like that overall, they'll be fine. But
Yeah, I will say this about San Antonio: if they did win, they're one game behind Arlington, who's at second place, and then all they need is another Battlehawks loss. They just need to beat St. Louis, and they're right there in second place in the XFL division. So it wasn't anything crazy. They're not knocked out yet. If they went out from here on out, they're making the playoffs. So is that a possibility? No, I don't think it's a possibility. But I mean, at the same time, we just never know.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think San Antonio's got some faults, some lapses, like many teams do. Like you said, like drop touchdown for Jontre Kirkland. Like if that's a touchdown, that's 220 yards, potentially for Hogan, and gives you a whole different perception of like what his stat line looked like. Like 220 yards is a lot better than 180, 170. So no, I mean it's like Jim Turner. He actually said something. I sent that post a couple hours ago. it's going to come down to the little plays, just like the NFL, and I've mentioned that in a couple past episodes how like it's got to be that broken tackle, it's got to be that extra point or like the 3 point conversion that you get at the end of the game. It's got to be like that interception that you get on a conversion that you could possibly take to the house, like for 2, 3, or just a point. So it's just the little things like that go such a long way. And like if Kirkland caught that, like I think we would all have a different person. Maybe not Roth, but
Yeah,
Diego and AJ. I
I'm a
think we'd
hater.
have a different perception of how Hogan
If
looks.
he doesn't get it figured out, he's gonna be sitting just the way he did on that drop pass.
Yeah, no, no, no. But listen, no. I mean, John Trey Kirkland like hasn't looked that good. I mean, we can talk forever about overall thoughts. Diego, I know we kind of you've kind of been chiming in, but I wanted to just hear your like overall stance on this previous week.
Yeah, no, I think overall, I think it was a solid week for the UFL. I think it was a great win for Houston, coming over Memphis, which they've swept them too, which I think is the first time they've ever done it. So there's a lot of good things coming out for Houston. Of course, all of us were really skeptical about CJ Johnson and really how he's really been doing so far, but they're sitting at 3-3. Their playoff chances are still very much alive. And, it's just one of those things that's going to be crazy to track. But also, Michigan, as you guys discussed, they're looking really good as well. And they got a game against Arlington this weekend. And, that's going to be the deciding factor. Are they going to be able to lock in this division? So I think, all in all, it was a good week because it's nice to not have any NFL draft like in the way at all.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, definitely a great week. Roth, last week we talked about kind of how we had some really good football at a bad time due to the NFL draft kind of, overtake, like being kind of happening simultaneously with some of our games. So, obviously we saw how much ratings were impacted last week. Obviously, this week we saw kind of more of what we're used to in terms of like I think what was that game? I think St. Louis's game saw an increase by some percent in the double digits. I think from like 430 to somewhere in the 600 range. So no, just I mean it just goes to show like we're definitely on the up. Like if we can stay at this pace, obviously the teams have to kind of keep their to kind of hold their ground, but no, I think if they can keep playing like this, then I think we'll end the year off kind of on a good note, kind of this second half of the season. So, but no, thank you guys for voicing your thoughts. I also thought it was a great week. So, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to this next topic. So, this was something Diego came up with. I am a fan of it, but I'm gonna need a little time to kind of think about it. If that's all good, I'm gonna let you guys take the floor first. But we're just gonna pick a receiver. So from any team. So just kind of maybe you can give like an evaluation. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Diego, but or was it kind of more the last week? Was it?
No, it doesn't even have to be about last week. It could be
Oh,
like
okay, okay.
overall and how they're really sitting and how they impact the offense.
Yeah, no, okay. I mean I like that then. So I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys have any receiver, any team, kind of what's been their impact, and then if you could short analysis and provide a letter grade, that would be fantastic. What do you guys got?
Um, I got Malik Turner for the Michigan Panthers. I feel like he's the wide receiver one in that room. He can play off script with Bryce Perkins. We saw him do that the past 3 weeks, and I feel like that's his biggest element in Michigan right now.
Yeah, so could you give what would you say a letter grade would be for him?
Letter grade
Like
B
from
plus.
B plus. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he's looked good. Obviously hasn't had to do too much because they have other parts of their offense that kind of are able to execute. So they haven't asked much of him. Honestly, so yeah, no, I totally agree. Diego, AJ, what do you guys think? Who do you guys got?
Um, I'm gonna go Hakeem Butler from St. Louis. He started the season off a little bit quiet, but these last 2 weeks, I think he had two big touchdowns last week and another big one this week. And especially with their other weapons they had last year that don't seem to be gelling like they were last year. They had like 3, 4 options last year. Now it doesn't seem the same. But um, I think I'd give Hakeem Butler a B plus. I feel like he's a big part of offense right now. Because I mean we've seen Sailor slow down a little bit, and you trying to figure out the quarterback situation. So I'm gonna say Hakeem Butler B plus.
Yeah, no, he's been a great he's been great in his return. Obviously, he had a couple weeks of injury, but he's made his way back, and I think he's looked like he was last year. So yeah, for sure. I mean, I totally agree. Diego, what do you got? If not, I can go ahead and
Yeah. Um, I think kind of similar to what you said, Ferris. I kind of had to think about this one a bit, but I want to talk about Justin Hall a bit from the Roughnecks. I think so far he's had a solid season. Not as productive as the other two seasons that we've seen from him, but I think all in all he's still having a pretty solid year. But when it comes to those touchdown conversions, he will always be a guy that you can find. He can make big plays. But
Hmm.
no, I would probably give Justin Hall. I'd probably give him a B minus.
Yeah,
Very solid.
I will say though, his production always increases towards the later half of the season. So the production we're gonna see that's like skyrockets is at this point of the season.
yeah, I was yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think Justin Hall. So Ralph, you're predicting that he drops off
No, no,
now?
no, 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 no,
No,
no, no, no,
opposite,
no, no,
opposite.
no, no. Opposite. He plays like incredible football. Like this. This is the time of the year where he does.
Justin Hall things. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Justin Hall is a great player. B minus, I think definitely a fair rating for him. He's looked good, but also has had some times where I think he's had some drops, some first down missed opportunities type things. So for sure, no, I definitely agree. B minus is definitely a fair rating for him. Um, but yeah, thank you guys for sharing yours. For mine, I actually was just going to talk about John Trey Kirkland a little bit more in detail. I kind of mentioned him. I'll probably give him a C plus. A little bit worse than Justin Hall in my opinion. Just like how we kind of viewed him going in. I think he probably should have been a lot better than this. Just for that Brahmas offense, which doesn't have many productive pieces to begin with. They definitely could have used, what John Trey Kirkland, like numbers he was putting up last season type thing. But unfortunately, just hasn't been able to kind of deliver that week by week product that we all kind of thought he would. Also, that drop pass doesn't help his case. So, and he's also had some other drops. Obviously, like he's had some I don't know. I mean, AJ Smith was definitely a good coordinator last year, but then now, like with how many changes they've had in coaching, I don't know if that's like a result of Kirkland's like misuse or maybe they're just not looking his way. But that was my opinion. But something did happen to San Antonio, which we'll get into later when we talk about the transactions. But John Trey Kirkland, I'll give him a C plus for kind of how he's shaping up so far. So, but yeah. No, yeah. Thank you guys for picking a receiver, Diego. I definitely think that was a good segment that you wanted to kind of have us partake in. So, um, but here we're gonna go ahead and move it on here. So, attendance and TV ratings. So this is probably our most this is one of our most. This is probably one of my most favorite segments because we just like to see increases, week in, week out. And I think this week we definitely saw an increase in a lot of these games. We did see a decrease, I think, in one of the games, but the best thing is that the football was great, so the ratings doesn't really doesn't really speak to us. I think the attendance was okay. I think for Houston, they had worse
It
numbers.
was really bad in
Yeah, yeah,
Houston.
yeah. No, I think it was sub 4K, which is unheard of, and for any of these teams.
I saw something, I think off like Reddit or something, but they said that, for recorded attendance for spring football, Houston's was the lowest since like 1975, which is really
Dang.
shocking. Which, I mean, obviously you could add the USFL and the hubs, but they don't really count since it was never counted. So, but Houston though, man, that looks really bad.
Yeah, and not even like, obviously we know what St. Louis does. Like, if we just turn the page to St. Louis, right? Like who they are as a fan base and like how many fans are going to show up. Obviously, they had two sporting events from other leagues happening at the same time in the same city, like miles apart. Like I think you had a game at Busch Stadium for the Cardinals, a couple miles away, maybe not even a mile away, and then also a hockey game, also a couple miles away for the Blues. And they still, I mean, honestly, not even that great of numbers for St. Louis either. But just to show, like Houston had nothing going on. I don't even think the Rockets. I wait. No, no, they're not. I mean,
They
they
were
weren't.
eliminated. Eliminated.
I'm sorry, I forgot. But no, but that's the thing though. Like they don't have anything that's holding them back versus like these other cities. And obviously, like I said, St. Louis has a history of being the best fan base and all that. But there's just they've got to do a better effort. Obviously, like it is hard. Like when but the teams look better. Like I can't even say the teams look bad because they haven't. They've definitely improved. The fans not showing a high number is definitely concerning for sure. But I mean hey, I think they'll have a couple more maybe one or two home games to wrap up the season here. So hey, they can always redeem themselves. But what do you guys think, Ralph and AJ? You guys have anything?
I mean, uh, I was looking at Birmingham this weekend. And even their attendance didn't look as packed as it was last year. I didn't see like the official number, but just looking at it on TV, it didn't seem like it was too much. But um, I think as far as that, you know, it seems like the attendance have dipped a little bit, and I like you said in Houston they got other sports teams, but in Birmingham, I don't think there was much other stuff going on. So I think I hate to see the attendance, at least at the game, seeming like it's dropping a little bit. But um, you know, St. Louis always comes through. I feel like, and they're the number ones. But it's a little disappointing. But hopefully, as the season comes to the end, we'll see a spike in attendance.
Yeah. But you know who did have record-setting attendance?
Oh,
Yes.
The Michigan Panthers,
Yep. Record-setting. 10,000 fans. Never happened. So
11,000.
11,000. Sorry.
11,000. No,
Oh,
no. Yeah, I
okay.
no, I think yeah. I mean, for the Panthers, definitely, and a fan base on the rise. I mean, hopefully, like we want to see more fan bases be like St. Louis, like how loyal they are and how they come to every game, like as passionate as they are. Like, I mean, obviously with like I remember UFL Pulse talked about this, but like Anthony Beck like being a huge part of that, like obviously he's got an Instagram following, he's got fans that follow him, and so I mean, but that I mean like then again that's not really gonna matter at the end of the day. Like Mike Nolan, obviously being an older coach, but how the team's looking, I definitely think we can see consistent numbers. Let me see what Michigan's schedule looks like here. So we have okay, so they only have a home game in week 10. So they're on the road here three straight: Arlington, Houston, Birmingham, and then back to Ford Field in week 10. So, but no, I definitely think Michigan's definitely got a good fan base, and hopefully maybe they can host a playoff game. With how they're looking, I think that's up for debate, but I mean we'll definitely see. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I think attendance was great though. It could have been better in some ways, but definitely things to build off of and other things to kind of like kind of go focus more on. Uh, for this, so we're gonna move on here to the transactions. So obviously we kind of added this, like it wasn't really a thing for us last year because like we wouldn't see as many moves as we have now. But we have seen a significant amount of moves since the last time we recorded, which was last Tuesday. So the notable, well, they're all notable in my eyes. You guys might feel the same, but these are all, players that we've heard, players that we've watched on TV. But Denzel Mims released from the St. Louis Battlehawks. Obviously, AJ, you kind of touched on it, how their wide receiver room just hasn't looked that good. It's kind of been the run game. It's kind of been the defense. It's kind of been what is it? I mean, it's kind of been Jacob Sailors. It just hasn't been much. It's been Jake Sutherland. It hasn't been much of the receivers, but outside of Akeem Butler, obviously they have Ja'Cory Pearson, who had a formerly great season with the Sea Dragons back when the XFL was around, but now you release another receiver that you had, Denzel Mims, who I believe was the wide receiver 4 for them after Frank Darby. If not, I think that's right, just in terms of skill level. But I mean, no, this is a move. Obviously, wide receiver 4 being released just because of how many guys they had in there. I guess it makes sense. I didn't know, like, I don't know, like, what do you guys think about it? Just because, I mean, I didn't really see him much, like on, when the Battlehawks were playing, he wasn't really mentioned, just like from a football standpoint. So, no, I don't see a problem with them releasing him, but at the same time, it's definitely important because obviously now they got to turn to somebody else in that receiver game. So, but yeah, what do you guys think? Did that catch your eye at all, or was
I
it kind of?
think I think for Denzel Mims, I think he had the opportunity. If he didn't, he would have been cut. But I think he just never really, I guess, showed anything that that he was capable. I think obviously MC Beck always wants his guys to step up, but Mims, yeah, I no hate on him, but he's still kind of a bust. I mean, even in New York, he was never used. But I mean, you could argue that with injury a bit. But no, I mean, in the offseason, we saw Andy Isabella get cut as well. So just it's unfortunate, but at the same time, this is a league that some people may look down on, but at the same time, it's a very competitive one as well. So best of luck to Mims, but just unfortunate that it didn't work out.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, like we said, it's been other parts of the team that have kind of contributed. It hasn't really been the receivers. So that's kind of why they don't, they felt they didn't need an extra body in there. And I mean, I think the group they have right now is solid. I don't think it's bad by any means, but it just hasn't been their offense like some of these other teams. Like, I mean, if you look at, I mean, Birmingham, or if you look at like I mean, maybe not like a Michigan, but like a San Antonio, like they need a receiver to step up because the other parts of their offense are not usually there. So, but no, yeah, I mean, I just that was definitely a move that I felt we should talk about just because of kind of the name and all that. So, but yeah, so another move that happened here, I think it was yesterday. D. Anderson traded to San Antonio, Memphis receiver, for Darius Phillips. So another player for player trade, which I think we've seen now 3 or 4 of those this season. And this time, both players that we can speak about in detail, actually. I mean, D. Anderson, definitely a lot of time with Memphis, just with David Davis being out, Jonathan Adams kind of being not being where he was in the first couple weeks, these last couple weeks. Um, D. Anderson, like definitely a name that stands out. I know people were kind of like on the fence about this trade, like in Memphis's shoes, that they didn't really like it for them. Like they didn't really like that. Obviously, giving up D. Anderson. I mean, he would be considered like, I mean, let's see now, what is it, wide receiver three if David Davis comes back. But even then, like, not even. I mean, but that's like now with David Davis coming back, like if you're Memphis, you're hoping for 80 plus yard performances like from here on out. Like you're not like don't sell yourself short. You traded a receiver in D Anderson, which is a good player, and now you're kind of banking on David Davis coming back and getting back to his old ways. So, uh, but yeah, did that stand out to you guys? I mean, also Darius Phillips, another great player, but just hasn't looked kind of. I think he looked pretty good last year, but just compared to the Brahmas defense this year, just hasn't looked all that good. I don't know how he's going to look with Memphis, but what'd you guys think of the trade? If you guys have anything, Ralph.
I kept trying to think about like an NFL equivalent to the trade.
Okay.
I think it's more like Mohamed Sanu getting traded for like washed Adam Pac-Man Jones. That's
Okay.
exactly what the trade looks like.
So okay, all right, all right. I don't mind the comparison, but I mean Darius Phillips is could definitely be better. I mean last year he looked good. Obviously everybody on that Brahmas defense looked good, kind of like similar to like St. Louis this year, or like we can say like I mean Michigan or Birmingham even, right? Any of those teams have had players constantly show up on defense. So, but no, I think the trade was definitely confusing in some people's eyes, but also like definitely two players that we both heard of, but just I think we've heard more of D Anderson this season, me personally. So, but yeah, um, but yeah, and then we had Lamont Gilliard. I think that's how you say his name, Gillard. Formerly what was he? Formerly a defender. Is that right? Yeah, formerly a defender. Now picked up by San Antonio. Or did I get that? Did I get that flipped? Wait, hold up. I might have gotten that flipped. I have to pull it up. One
Are you
sec.
talking about the running back, Mark?
No, no.
No, no, it's a different guy.
So
Oh, different. Okay, I was thinking, I was like, what are you
you were
talking
thinking
about in
of.
DC?
I know who you were thinking of. I think, or
Yeah,
was
Mark.
it?
It's Mark Lozano. I know. I know who that is. Yeah.
So okay, here we go. I'm in the chat. So Lamont. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Lamont Gillard. The Brahmas have claimed him from the defenders. Okay, so I had it right. So a guard in the center, claimed by the Brahmas, formerly a defender. Obviously, I don't know how much this is going to do for them. I mean, the Brahmas O
Oh,
line looked real bad last week. I mean, we could just say what it was against Birmingham's front seven, which usually shows up, but just not a very strong outing from that front five for San Antonio. So now adding somebody like him, I think it'll look a little bit better. I don't know like just what that O line looks like, just because of the quarterback uncertainty anyway. So I mean no, so that's uh that's my opinion. So those are the moves this week. Obviously, we can go back and forth of like how the previous week's moves were probably more notable than this week's, but definitely still worth noting because these are players we've watched and we've heard their names and they move on to a different team just like that, right? So, but no, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead, move it right along. Um, the potential playoff format. So. This one was added in by Diego. I am familiar with it, but it has been I think when was it? Monday morning came out with that. Or was that Sunday night?
it was Monday, I'm pretty sure.
Monday, yeah. So there was a proposed playoff format by some UFL officials. So that kind of means like the back end of like the GMs and like the front office of these teams. So there was a proposed playoff format. I believe I don't have the exact details, but I just know kind of like the backstory. Do one of you guys have that? I know it was like if the team lost in the championship, then they would play like at a for like a fourth, fifth place. I forgot what it was exactly, but
No, what they were trying to do was that both division winners would advance to the playoffs, and then followed by the two teams with the best record. And there was a lot of mixed opinions about it. A lot of people thought that they were just trying to rig it for St. Louis. But I'm gonna voice my personal opinion now. But I am glad that they didn't go on with it. It would have been real stupid if they changed the playoff format in like mid-season. That's something you do in the off season. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
No,
it makes sense. Like if you're expanding and adding new teams, but like with the 18 model, come on now. There's nothing wrong with the model as of right now.
I mean, reality is they can do this tomorrow. They can make the change if they want tomorrow. But you know what? Two teams that does leave out of the playoffs, the Showboats and the Brahmas, the two teams making trades.
well, I mean, in that case, then I wouldn't be opposed to because those teams haven't looked playoff ready. But
Yeah,
then going back to Diego's point, like doing it mid-season is just not
mhm.
accept. Like you can't do that. You know, the
I mean,
unfair to the. Go ahead. What were you saying?
they can do it though. They can
Yeah,
do it.
no, they can
Like
obviously do it.
they
Yeah.
can make the announcement in 20 seconds. So I mean, like they can do whatever they want. So I mean, we could possibly see this by week 8. They announce a new playoff format, and it wouldn't be terrible because we get to see a Houston Memphis play-in game. Like that would be
That
very
yeah,
entertaining.
yeah. Okay,
Like a play-in
okay.
tournament game.
But
Like like
that's but that's an entirely different format than like the one they were proposing. Like just because it would have like guaranteed the division teams to kind of get that championship game. But you're suggesting more of like a play-in game. So similar to the NBA for like the worst teams of the
I mean
respective
no.
yeah.
I mean we know what's we let those two bottom. I mean that's what it practically it is. But
No, I mean, listen, you can, I don't know. I mean, I know, Raf, you have a lot of connections, so you can always, like, put that out there. I don't know, like, well, who you got to go through to kind of voice that, but
pretty much the
it
answer.
sounds interesting. But the play-in tournament, I don't know. I mean, maybe at like a neutral site even. You could play it at Ford Field, St. Louis, whatever it is. I don't know. But yeah, no, AJ, what do you think? What do you think about that format? You
I
see
feel
it?
like um, it's not a bad idea, um, but I think they should wait till next season. I don't think it's fair to put it in the last few weeks right before the playoffs, because then you'll have teams that say, "Oh, that's not fair" or whatever. Um, so I think they should, if they're gonna do it, they should do it next year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like it's just if they did it now, obviously Raf, you are right. They could do it now. Like the league is the league, like they have the highest power, but just being unfair to the staffs and the players, they've worked hard. Obviously like, just announcing something like that would definitely throw them off. So but yeah, no, I listen, I'm not opposed to it like in a future season, like you were saying, AJ. But just now, it's a little bit challenging to kind of add that in. So, but yeah, no, I totally agree, guys. Like the format is definitely something that we can talk about. And maybe it'll come up again. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it makes sense being shut down like mid-season, but no, I think there's a chance. So that we might hear it again. But so we can now move on. So Memphis coming up just short against Houston. 1 point loss in both games this season against them. Um, I think, listen, like just watching the game from a fan perspective, I think they kind of had the same struggles like carry out through both. Like they always looked rushed. I mean, even with different teams, and it's actually ironic because Jim Turner, wait, no, that's wrong. That was the Michigan game, the debut, but No, I mean, so they just looked off, like just rushed, Like obviously they did some good things, but like their defense just hasn't looked like what it was like in the first couple weeks. Just hasn't looked like, I used to be able to, compliment them, on certain plays, but now it just feels like, when they catch a break, I kind of get excited, which is kind of the opposite of what you want. So I just feel like they looked rushed. I mean, I didn't really think they kind of had a plan. Like I think McClendon makes the Roughnecks look really good. Like Roth, like you were saying earlier. Like I definitely think that'll make them a threat, and not make you like underestimate them, because they are a good team. Like I'm not discrediting them at all, but I definitely think Memphis could have capitalized on a couple more opportunities that probably could have pulled off the win. But no, I mean at the end of the day, Houston's a great team. I mean they'll definitely. Curtis Johnson's been able to rally around them. So, but yeah, well, what'd you guys think about that game? I know it was a close battle. So
I think Dresser Wynn, he played pretty good from what I seen.
yeah.
I hadn't seen him really play outside of the UFL, but I think maybe he was what Troy Williams was supposed to be, where he can kind of run the ball a little bit. Because I seen him running, I didn't know he was that fast. So I think he brings a different element to their offense, which is probably why he's playing now. Um, but I think at the same time, Jalen McClendon is playing good. Um, and like I said, he's the better of the quarterback. So I think for Memphis and for Dresser Win, maybe McClendon, maybe it's like a tryout for them. And if they finish the season strong, maybe they're looking at being QB1 next year if they don't draft another one.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, like another Rob, we talked about this last week, but like we kind of gave like a evaluation for a coach, like kind of how we picked a wide receiver this week. We kind of gave like a midseason evaluation for like different coaches, and I think AJ, you chose CJ Johnson of the Roughnecks, and you kind of said like I think he needs to show a little bit more, to kind of be retained next year. I definitely think like a game like this last week like is definitely a game like you would mention like in the interview process, like if you were looking to come back next year, just like close game, like defense played well, and then also a good offensive performance, nothing too standing out, but definitely still, it's just one of those games that you would mention, like potentially bringing C.J. Johnson back next year. So, but yeah, Diego, Ralph, what'd you guys think of that game?
Yeah. Um. Honestly, it was a great game. I think both sides played well. Unfortunately, just didn't go Memphis's way. I mean, they came out swinging in the first half. They looked really good, but then next thing you know, Houston gets it together. They get it's hard for Memphis. I mean, they're 1-5. They got to play St. Louis this week, but even at the record right now of 1-5, they've still looked really good, and a lot different from the showboats that we saw last year when they were essentially eliminated from the playoffs. But no, it's one of those games to where CJ Johnson, is starting to show that he still wants to be here, but at the same time, is his job really still safe? So I mean, it was a good game, but next week is definitely gonna be that determinator what's gonna happen for both of these sides.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I'm definitely a fan of those types of games. Like obviously like those close games is why we watch this league. Not only because it's more football, but just because like these guys are battling it out. And for it to be a close game like that, and you see guys getting like hyped up about a close win, and then obviously on the opposite side where you see guys getting upset, just goes to show like how important like those small plays and those big plays are, like Jim Turner was saying. So, but yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think more games like that is definitely not a bad thing. So, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead, move it right along. So, I did add this myself. I don't know if it's that worth of a discussion, but there is now Stallions quarterback room uncertainty. We can talk a little bit about San Antonio a little bit too, just because I think Stallions have been partly due to injury more so than kind of skill of play. But um, no, I think the Stallions, like, who they'll play is going to be based on like who's ready to go. Obviously, we know Jamar is kind of back in the picture here, so if he has to go out there, then he'll do that. I mean, obviously, I don't know what's in store. Him look, in a completely different offense. Um, but I do know that Skip's going to try to do the best for his team, whether that's playing Jamar, whether that's playing a banged up quarterback. I don't know. But no, I definitely think you guys, like, I just put that down there. I didn't mean that as like a mean thing at all. I don't know if it's if you guys have anything to add on to it, but I definitely know that you guys have a lot of guys to kind of look at now. With Cookus, kind of Ralph, I think said went down. I don't. Um, did he? Yeah, I didn't. He did get hurt. Did he?
He was
He got
hurt around the end of the game.
he
The
got
end of the
banged
game.
up.
Okay, okay. Yeah, no. So now it just comes down to availability between him and Peasley, and obviously Jamar might be the most ready. But again, I don't know what Skip's got for us. I mean, it kind of just comes down to like who we trust the most. And it's been a little while for Jamar. So, but what do you guys think about that? Do you guys have anything?
Yeah, well, I'll start it off. Um, like it's obviously going to be one of those next man up scenarios, but at the same time, just the QB position has just been plaguing our play this season. Really, are we really set for the 4 feet? Or is it going to be one of those things that's going to hold us back from getting there again? But it was mentioned that Alex Magoo will probably be back around week 8 or week 9. Matt Corral, his season's probably over just with hearing how his but it does sound like Peasley probably won't play. But Jamar, it is nice to see that he is staying with the team, not just being cut and then re-signed. Really just try to work with that chemistry a bit if he is gonna start. Like Houston is gonna be a huge test for us, so we gotta be ready. Like I'm high on us right now, but at the same time, you gotta remember we played San Antonio, so you know I know that CJ Johnson's not gonna try to hold anything back, but you know who knows what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Sorry, I just found out something really groundbreaking. But
Mm.
I'll talk about that in another time because I don't want to get a distraction. But no, I mean I totally agree. It's going to come down to skill level. It's going to come down to availability. But then again, Skip's the head coach. He's going to make the decision. Us fans, we just kind of have a say. We don't really we don't make the final call. So, but no, I definitely think Stallion's still going to look good regardless of who goes out there. I mean, they've got a good tight knit room that they can kind of go back and forth with. So, but yeah, so we're gonna get into our predictions now. Raf, I know, I think so. We used to share individually. I mean, just in the sake of time, like we do save a couple extra minutes. We'll just go ahead and share our picks if that's fine with you. So whoever wants to start, I kind of need a little bit.
I,
You guys might have your picks
I
though.
can start. I can start.
All
So
right, all right.
I chose the Battlehawks to win 12-6 over the Arlington Renegades. I chose the Houston Roughnecks to win 21-20 over the Memphis Showboats. I chose the Michigan Panthers to win 38-12 over the DC Defenders, and I chose what is it? The Birmingham Stallions to win 26-3. Oh, I'm just kidding. No, I didn't make any predictions. I lied on those. I didn't make any predictions. I did uh go against Michigan though because not against DC because Jordan Teamu is overrated. I said it. I said it. He
Yeah,
overrated.
no. Listen, you know what? I totally So wait, you just went like rapid fire. That was
I mean, no, I was just saying who won and what the score was, and that I predicted that score.
okay, okay.
But no.
So you see another good week of football, or you kind
Oh
of
yeah,
see?
great week of football. Great week
Yeah,
of football.
yeah. All right. Well, Ralph, I am sad to inform you. Wait, how do I word that? It's unfortunate that we've removed you from the predictions, but wait, is there a but? I'm trying to think of like a positive that came out of it because
Spit it
we
out.
what? No, no, no.
Spit it
Okay.
out, man. Just say it.
So we haven't been putting your name in the predictions. Like I started
No.
I started a
I,
visual. Obviously, we can go back and retrace
I
it
mean,
if you want to do
no,
that.
that's
I
fine. That's
probably
fine.
should
I'm
have been
not.
asking you like every week, but it was just like another layer
Yeah, I
that
had a lot.
I would have to
I had
do.
a lot going on. That's fine. I'm not super like upset. I'm just like, it's whatever.
So I mean, listen, I could go back if it, but we still have it like between Diego and AJ, like and I, but we could go back and like you can call me and retrace like what teams you had. Like it's not like fully like cooked, so to speak. But if it doesn't interest you, then we can because you remember last year we had like the end of the year graphic. I think Diego posted that of like who had what record and such. So that's kind of what crossed my mind when I was thinking like should I actually go back and retrace it with you or should we just go about it? Okay. All right. Well, we'll
It's all
do
good.
whatever satisfies you. So, but no, I'm gonna go ahead and get in my predictions. So, for this week, I mean, listen, I got another great week of football, like Rob said. You know, I think, listen, I mean, I think the ratings could also be good. And I mean, listen, it's gonna be another great week. I mean, like that's what like it's these weeks that we live for, like the weeks that progressively get better and just we're just having a good time. So, for the first game, we have Memphis versus St. Louis, and this one's tough because obviously I'm a big Memphis fan, but St. Louis, good team. Manny Wilkins looking good on the ground. Memphis has had some struggles with rushing quarterbacks, and obviously Bryce Perkins was definitely an issue when they played at Ford Field. Um, so I think St. Louis is going to come away with this one, probably in like a 28-17 type fashion. Like not, I think Dresser win and the offense like will still put up a good fight, but I think Manny Wilkins will. Or sorry, why did I say Manny Wilkins twice? Nobody even stopped me. Max Duggan is his rushing attack is gonna prove victorious here, and kind of lead the team over them. And Memphis will. I'm not gonna say effectively be eliminated from the playoff race, but most likely, like just because we are at that time of the year, and it is unfortunate because like we did have a lot of good players, but effectively they might be eliminated from the playoff race. So just something to keep an eye out on if you're also a Memphis fan or if you're just looking to kind of watch the league on from here on out to the end of the year. So for the second game, Houston at Birmingham. I think this is going to be another. I mean, I think this is going to be a good game. Obviously, we saw Birmingham at Houston. Diego, you and I came down a couple hours to see that with you. Great game, great like even great place that we were watching at. But it did look close. I mean, obviously, it came down to a game-winning interception for JoJo Tillery. And at the end of the day, I think Houston's definitely improved since that game, and Birmingham's had some injuries for both sides, since that game too. So it's just interesting when you take that game. I still have Birmingham. Well, actually, no. You know what? No, I'll give Birmingham the edge on this one. Very close one though, for sure. Just like last one. I'm gonna say. I'm trying to think. So I'm gonna say 25-22. Um, I I would normally say lower, but I think the Roughnecks offense is going to look good. So I think Birmingham's going to keep up, but it's not going to be enough for Houston. So I got Birmingham coming up with that one. Very close game though. I don't think it's going to be by a game-winning field goal, even though it's 3 points. It'll either be a conversion that'll happen like in the last couple minutes, or you can possibly have like a touchdown last type of lead, like last couple minutes type of lead. So and then Houston might could throw an interception on the drive. Who knows? So I got Birmingham coming up in that one. And then we have Arlington at no versus Michigan. So Arlington coming back home, playing a very solid Michigan team. Bryce Perkins, the offense, the entire thing. They look real well. They look real good. So I got Michigan actually coming up with that one too. Still, I mean, Luis Perez, like we haven't talked about him much, just hasn't looked the way that he usually does. Usually a passing magician, but he just hasn't looked like he usually does these last couple weeks. The old line hasn't looked bad. He's just like some of the reads that he's making, like last week. I mean, I know we were talking about that in the group chat. Just not very smart of, not very Perez of him, I should say. So I'm gonna give that game a score of, let's see here. I'm gonna say 24-17 Michigan wins. I mean, listen, Arlington didn't do well against San Antonio or St. Louis, excuse me, and I don't. I mean, Michigan's defense is probably on that same in that same tier as how good they are. So I think the score is 24-17. Michigan's gonna get the win. Um, so then for our last game, we have San Antonio versus DC. Now this one I believe is the primetime matchup of the week. And I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. Listen, I mean, San Antonio's got some struggles, like Kevin Hogan, has had some rough patches, but I think DC will probably go back to kind of more what they were known for, and come out with this game. I'll say a score of 22-14. A little bit more modest for both teams. But San Antonio, I can't really pinpoint like anybody on that defense this year versus last year. Obviously, they just lost Darius Phillips to the Showboat, so and we don't even know if D. Anderson's going to play. So 22-14, I got DC coming out in that one. First game of the week. We'll see that this Friday. So um, sorry, I took a little while compared to Roth there, but we should still be, yeah, we're still under an hour. So AJ, Diego, if you guys want to go ahead, and then we'll get into our
Yeah.
final topics.
Um, these predictions were actually a bit interesting for me. I actually got an upset for this one.
Oh,
But
okay.
I, I I'm gonna start off with the Friday game with DC at San Antonio. Now, San Antonio, I mean, they got talent, but they still look really lost, especially on offense, like we touched up on. But I think BC wins this one 34-16. Just, it's just going to be one of those games to where that offense just looks completely dominant. Maybe we see a Chris Brolin kick return touchdown. But then going into the next game, um, Arlington versus Michigan. Um, I like Arlington. Like I said, I mean they got a good team, but like Bryce Perkins, he looks really unstoppable right now, and like I got Michigan winning that one 27-35. Another game that will range in the 30s. And then going into Birmingham's game against Houston. Now, I think this one's going to be the most lowing scoring game of this week because I think it's going to be strictly based around the defense. Um, I'm gonna take a bold take on this one, but I feel like the Roughnecks will have a better offense than Birmingham just because of the injuries right now on Birmingham's end. Like, I mean, if Jamar does play, he will probably have some decent plays here and there. But like, I think no matter what, we'll still win. But it's gonna be a score of 15-19. Um, and then the last game of the week. Now, here's where things get interesting. I think Memphis wins this one at home. Now, I've been impressed with how Dresser win and just his offense has been playing. I think there's a good chance that David Davis will play. He may have a big breakout game. But like I think Max Duggan, he's looked good, but at the same time, like I feel like Memphis is gonna end up shocking a lot of people. But final score, I got this one 22-27. It will be close. It'll be a high scoring one. But I think it's gonna be one of those things that will keep Memphis's playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, like I mentioned, effectively eliminated here. This is this is kind of the make or break for them. They've gotta come away with this one. And like you mentioned, I mean, I'm not ruling it out. I mean, listen, I might have picked St. Louis to win this week, but I don't see a reason why Jim Turner and the Showboats can't come out there and show the haters wrong. So. But no, yeah, I think those are great predictions, and obviously Roth, great predictions as well. AJ, we're gonna let you have the floor here before we get into our final awards.
Okay, my first game of the week, DC at San Antonio. I think it's gonna be a blowout. Um, and DC's gonna win 23-6. My second game, we got Michigan at Arlington. Nakua's coming back from suspension after that one game. I think it'll be a close game. I think Perez will play better, but I got Michigan winning 31-23. Uh, this next game, we got Houston at Birmingham. Uh, Birmingham, I mean, Case Cook is banged up. And if Jamar Smith does play, it's his first game in almost 2 years, right? Is that right? So
Yeah, yeah.
I think, I mean, they're in a tough spot, but I got the upset. I got Houston winning in a very close game. I got them. I think McLennan is playing great. Their defense is getting a lot of momentum. They played great the last 2 weeks. I think they win very close. It'll be 27-26. And if Houston wins that game, they're tied for second with Birmingham. If Michigan loses, it's a three-way tie and Houston win. But I got Michigan winning. But I got Houston winning, and now they're tied with Birmingham for that second place spot. And then last, I got St. Louis at Memphis. I think Memphis does play great. And I know St. Louis struggled last week, but I do think St. Louis will win in a close one, 21-18.
Now, AJ, I was gonna interrupt you, but I chose not to. We did just get news. The Birmingham Stallions have signed quarterback Jalen Morton to their team, and what?
What?
I I was
Go,
I was
no
looking at
freaking way.
I was looking at the camera and I was trying to I don't know if you guys saw me like indicate anything, but Jalen Morton to the
Hold
Stallions.
up. Hold up. Hold up. Hold
If
up.
you want to
Let me
get a
try to see if I can find
confirmation, I'll
something.
give you a second to do so. But
Let me try to find something. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up.
are you trying to
This is
find
who
find a
he's
background right there?
he's playing with. No, no, not with the background. No, he was playing with the Southwest Kansas Storm in the AF1, and he's probably playing as like the best quarterback over there.
With a
Hold up.
Victor send. Okay, yeah, there you go. So Jalen Morton had a stint. He played for the former Stallions quarterback. We should mention first. We're still in the show, so we got to do our due diligence.
Hold
But
up.
Jalen Morton returns to the team after a very short-winded stint with the Stallions. Um, Obviously, it's even great. Like, cause I was considering not even adding that topic this episode about the quarterback room, like being an uncertainty. But now adding a whole other guy that's been here before and knows Skip well from a personal standpoint.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
I think that's gonna. I mean, that only even shakes it up more, in my opinion.
Hold
But
up.
what do
Hold
you
up.
guys
Watch
think?
this.
Is he quarterback one? We can go quick with this.
Watch this video. Hold up.
Oh, here we go.
This is Jalen Morton right here.
Is this recent?
Yeah, this was recent.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Okay. You know what? Listen. I mean, Jalen Morton, is he the quarterback one now? Like we said,
Probably not. Probably not.
probably
Maybe
not.
not this
Probably
week.
not.
Maybe
It's
not this.
Tuesday.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. There are some guys in the UFL that'll come in that'll be signed like this, and they're the starter right away. But in Jalen Morton's case, he's got other guys that are coming back from injury. So that kind of guys who are coming back from injury probably have like priority over him, honestly. Like Corral, if he's ready soon, I'm not like he's getting on the field. Like it's not Jalen Morton, but no. So I mean that's probably our most like reactionary like thing that we've done on this show ever. And I'm actually kind of surprised that we did it for Jalen Morton because we've had signings while recording, but not to this extent. Um, so I think last week we had a trade, and then just it didn't really hit the same because obviously it was a little bit for under the radar players. But Jalen Morton, being more known, heads back to the Birmingham Stallions where he played one game, and that only shakes up things in the longer term, possibly going into playoffs. I don't know about now. I think they'll kind of just stick to their like previous plan that they had in mind. But yeah, it's just some crazy stuff. But we're gonna go ahead and get into our awards. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. We can just go real quick here. So Air Player of the Week, I think it was pretty unanimous across the board. Bryce Perkins from Michigan, from the Panthers, 13 of 18 pass completion, and then 188 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, just a really solid game. Nothing crazy, but just like we've had a lot of quarterbacks that have had like a lot of passing yards, racked up a lot, but have thrown interception, have made bad reads, and that just like at the end of the day, like just doesn't get it done. Like it's kind of those lower, like more efficient performances we're kind of looking for. So I think Bryce Perkins is definitely deserving of Air Player of the Week this week. So, but yeah, what do you guys think? Any other awards? You guys don't have to go in order, by the way. So
I'll start off with the next one. I'm gonna talk about Toa for the Michigan Panthers, and this run game has really came alive in these next couple. I mean, these last few weeks after Colburn went out with injury. Um, not just Toa, but Nate McCrary as well, who has won the Ground Player of the Week before. But I think he's been looking real efficient. And just looking at the other running backs from this past weekend, I think he's definitely worthy of this award. I think just he's looking great. Just always just really presenting a lot of opportunities for Michigan, and who knows what his final stats is going to look like in these last few weeks.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think I forgot who the commentary booth was for that game, but they said it real well. They said that Toa is kind of like the meat and potatoes running back. Like he is he's definitely like the guy they've been looking for. Like obviously last year they had Wes Hills, like who was a great running back, but now like being able to kind of have like a 1-2 punch with McCrary, like Ralph kind of mentioned, has worked real well for them. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was a great pick for this week. So what about Ralph, AJ? What do you guys got? You guys want to share anything?
Yeah, I got you. Chris Rowland is our player of the week. He had 144 receiving yards and a touchdown. Played pretty good. I know they got beat, but he was pretty much the guy who shined for DC this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're some players don't play that well. Like I mean, some players play really well and the team doesn't come up with the win. Like last week, I think we also had Toa as our ground player of the week, and not the team just came up short. So sometimes it happens. Like it's not unheard of. It's obviously there's other factors to it. So, but yeah, no, I think Chris Rowland was definitely. Definitely a unanimous pick for this week. Not completely. Like there were some other players that we probably could have had in mind, but yeah, for sure, definitely a great pick for this week. Um, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get into special teams, and then we'll get into the defensive player. So special teams player of the week, Rodrigo Blankenship from St. Louis. St. Louis Battlehawks, 2 of 2 from his field goals, um, 53-yard long attempt. And I mean, listen, we've seen a lot of comments, him going back to the league. And at this point, like, with how he's playing, I think there's definitely, room for him. I think that, I think he's doing, I think he's doing great. Like, I don't see any problems with how he's playing. Like kind of how NFL fans were mentioning, like he had like a hip problem. Well, we just like haven't heard about that. Like that's just been kind of thrown to the side. So I think he's definitely ready for that next step. But obviously, he's still like former kickers we've seen like Jake Bates, Brandon Aubrey, they've had a great season all year. So now being able to wrap up the season in a good fashion is key for Hot Rod to get a shot at the next level. So, but yeah, uh, one of the defensive awards, Raf, AJ, Diego. What do you guys got? Anything?
I get it. Can't say his last name though. I just
Uh,
say
I'll move. Is it Peter Tomopenu?
Yeah,
I
Tom
think
Penu. Yeah,
yes. He's our defensive player of the week. He had 4 tackles, 2 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. He was in the backfield all night. He was a big reason that they only scored 6 points. So, great job by him. He's haven't really called his name too much this year,
yeah,
like we did last year. But it's great to see him back on our award list.
yeah. No, I definitely think he definitely won a couple times last year. Excuse me. Yeah, definitely. It's great to see him back on the list. He obviously gave that Renegades offense some problems. And yeah, we're looking forward to him doing kind of much of the same in these last couple of weeks here. So, Jaquan Shepard, our final award. What do you guys got, Diego?
I'll take this one. To wrap up these awards, we got Jaquan Shepard from the Roughnecks. Now, I'm pretty sure he was just signed this year, so he's still new to the UFL. But this was one of his moments to really put his name on the map. He had an interception during the game, really just built some momentum in that win. But no, it's really nice to see another guy we haven't really heard much about win this award. So congrats to Quan.
Yeah, no, like you said, newer addition, but has been doing real well for that Houston defense. Like Leon O'Neal. Like really, Houston's defense has definitely seen a drastic improvement from last year, as well as like kind of being like that San Antonio where we've been able to really name a lot of those players. So, but yeah, no, I think this was a great pick for us this week. So, but yeah, we're just gonna go ahead get into our final thoughts for this week 7 here. So obviously we only have a couple weeks left before playoffs. What do you guys kind of want to see? Maybe you can be like obviously this is kind of like voice your opinion time. Could be attendance, TV ratings, could be something with the coaches, could be something with the playoffs. Like Ralph kind of mentioned, like a play-in format they could potentially implement,
Yeah.
which that did sound pretty cool in the moment. Which could potentially explore that for next season. But what are some things you guys kind of want to see in this week particularly, and then maybe if it's something that like might carry over into in the last couple of weeks, then just make sure you mention that. What do you guys think?
I think it's gonna be an interesting week for the USFL conference because next week we can have a 3-way tie for first going into week 8, and I think it's a big week for Houston, a big week for Arlington because if they lose, they're currently 3-3. If they lose and St. Louis and DC win, they're on thin ice. So it's a big week going into week 7. A lot of big games, um, even for the teams in last. Even for them, they're trying to look at guys, see what they have, and see where they'll be picking next year. So it's a big week. But like I said, the game I'm looking forward to is Houston and Birmingham.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That game's also on my radar. I'm gonna be paying extra close attention to that one. As for the other ones, like, I mean, I'll just voice my opinion. Like, I think all these games are gonna be great. Like I've said, in last week. Like it's just like the way that the schedule has been formed. Like all these teams are good. Like you can't find like a fault within the schedule. Like there's always a good storyline. Like maybe one team's quarterback isn't good. Maybe the other team's quarterback is, but their offensive line isn't, or their receivers aren't. So how are they gonna turn the page? Like how are they gonna mend the bridge of like finding a way to kind of pull off that win? Like if we talk about like the Renegades for example, the offensive line has definitely struggled, but Perez has struggled too. But their receivers are really good. Like they probably have the deepest room in the league. So now how do they kind of manage that and kind of pull off a victory this week? So, but yeah, it's just going to come down to the little things. Like back to what Jim Turner said, right? I mean, obviously he probably meant it for his team, but I think it's applicable for every team in this league. So, yeah, those are my opinions. But yeah, Diego, Raf, what do you guys got? Anything?
I just want to see Jalen Morton ball out, but
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna take a different turn. I am interested to see how attendance is gonna look for all four of these games. I mean, you got Mother's Day on Sunday, so how is that gonna affect Birmingham? They have an 11 a.m. start. Memphis, is also gonna be interesting. Are they gonna be able to receive a bump at all? Are the visiting Bellhawks fans maybe gonna help spike it up a bit? But also how is the San Antonio attendance going to look? Because I mean, that team just looks miserable right now. I mean, they had 14,000 come out to that first home game against the Roughnecks, but they got blown out. Like, how many of the loyal fans are going to come out on Friday night? But no, all in all, excited for another week. I hope the Stallions don't look too miserable against the Roughnecks. We really need this game. It's gonna be an interesting week.
yeah. Like AJ said, like there's potential for three-way tie. There's potential for two-way tie. I mean, this has been probably the closest that we've covered spring football in our short time doing so. So I'm real excited, just like you guys are. Thank you guys so much for joining. AJ, we will collab with you, Roth, your IFA page, and then Diego as well. And then we'll also throw in the players that we had on our list. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you next week. Enjoy another good week of football.
Have a good night.
Yep, you
See
too.
you.
Thanks.